What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, well renowned, colorful sports analyst for ESPN and podcaster Stephen A. Smith weighs in on the fact that we are now going to have a rematch between undefeated three-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, now the reigning undisputed welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, who is widely acknowledged and recognized as the number one best pound for pound fighter in the world, in Terrence Bud Crawford. Terrence Crawford is 40 wins, no losses, no draws. 31 big wins by way of knockout. He is 35 years of age. He'll be 36 years of age next month. He is a superstar, to say the least, within the sport of boxing. He has created history in 40 fights. So with that said, July 29th, Las Vegas, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena. Errol Spence, former unified three-belt WBA, WBC, IBF welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, who was at the time widely considered top 5 pound for pound, now still top 10 pound for pound best fighters in the world, and Errol the Truth Spence Jr., who has a record now 28 wins, no losses, no draws. 28 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 22 big wins by way of knockout, 33 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. Errol the Truth Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford, they fought in a highly anticipated showdown that took place July 29th, Las Vegas, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena, where this was on paper. This was considered to be, in the last decade, one of the most anticipated fights in the last decade, right? It was one of the most competitive fights in the last 40 years. On paper, it was supposed to be a 50-50 fight on paper. One of the most competitive fights on paper in the last 40 to 50 years, right? And the fight turned out to be anything but that. It turned out to be a one-sided dominant performance, one-sided beating at the hands of Terrence Crawford. As Terrence Crawford lost the first round, but then he dropped Errol Spence in the second round. I thought Errol Spence won the first half of the third round, but then Terrence Crawford took over in the second half of the third round, and he never looked back. Then he batted Errol Spence in the fourth, fifth, and sixth round. Then he dropped him twice in the seventh round. Then he batted him in the eighth round. Then he stopped him in the ninth round. And so going into this highly anticipated undisputed welterweight showdown where history was on the line, as we, for the first time, was going to have a 4 major sanction belt undisputed welterweight world champion. And we do have one in Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford dominated this fight. And the contract, they both were able to secure in the contract where they had a rematch clause, where the fight took place July 29th. They had 30 business days from that day to activate the rematch clause, and the winner was obligated contractually to fulfill that and oblige the rematch clause. So we got news 48 hours ago that Errol Spence officially now has activated the rematch clause, and they will fight. And it looks like they could be fighting in December. Now, Errol Spence is suspended by the Las Vegas Boxing Commission until September 28th. But after that, he's able to resume his boxing career. And Stephen A. Smith, he's not happy about this. Stephen A. Smith says if anybody in the sport of boxing that are human beings have a soul, they won't allow Errol Spence to continue. Stephen A. Smith said that Errol Spence looked like a character after, entertainer, actor, and comedian, legend Martin Lawrence did a skit. Martin Lawrence did a skit on his show, Martin, where he had legendary, iconic Hall of Fame superstar boxer Thomas the Hitman Hearns on there. And Martin Lawrence won the charity boxing event, and he started feeling himself, right? He started getting overly confident. And then he challenged Tommy Hearns to a showdown, and Tommy Hearns batted Martin Lawrence and had Martin Lawrence looking like Who Shot John. He had a swollen head, a pumpkin head. He had knots all over the place. His face was dismantled. He was swollen and bruised. And Stephen A. Smith said that Martin Lawrence's character in that episode is what Errol Spence resembled after his fight with Terrence Bud Crawford. So Stephen A. Smith is saying that he don't want this fight to be able to take place, especially not so soon. And I agree, because there's a lot that, Errol Spence has to work on, because Terrence Crawford was better in every aspect. Okay. Terrence Crawford was better, Terrence Crawford was better, had better foot movement, better hand speed. He had better power, better angles. His jab was better. There was a lot that Errol Spence needs to learn, okay? And if you don't know, this is the character that Stephen A. Smith is referring to, right? A Martin Lawrence character. So he's saying that this is what Errol Spence looked like after Errol Spence fight with Terrence Crawford. Now, Terrence Crawford came out. Terrence Crawford is very versatile, okay? He could switch from southpaw to orthodox. And in this fight, he fought predominantly in the southpaw stance. And he dominated Errol Spence. He had faster feet, faster hands, more power. He was physically stronger. His ring IQ, his timing was better. His reflexes was better. Overall, he was better than Errol Spence. And Errol Spence is now going to have to prepare for, a fighter that can be orthodox or he could be southpaw, right? And they're going to move up to junior middleweight. The fight is going to be at 154 now. So they're going to have this fight, the rematch, at 154 pounds, junior middleweight. So he has to get acclimated for that. He has to prepare if Terrence Crawford is going to come out in the southpaw stance or if Terrence Crawford is going to come out in the orthodox stance, right? He has to prepare, for Terrence Crawford jab, physically get stronger. So there's a lot that Errol Spence has to learn. But let's listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say, shall we?
And the beatdown was so bad, I want to replay for you. But an ass whipping is an ass whipping. And take as much punishment as he was taking. And you saw the way that he looked after the fight. That was just hard to see. Let me tell you something. Where's your soul? See, is that Errol Spence Jr. doesn't need to be back in the ring. You saw him. You heard the slurring of his words. I mean, you want to buy as much time as you possibly can. A, for Errol Spence to fully recover, looks-wise. Just the scars. I mean, listen, if you think I'm exaggerating, go look at that episode of Martin Lawrence. Martin, the show was called. When Tommy the Hitman Hearns was on the show. And he said to Tommy, I heard they, you call yourself the Hitman. When I spoke at the end of the show, how Martin Lawrence had on that mask, looking like he was all beat up. And then go look at Errol Spence Jr.
So you see, you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. Let's listen again.
It was that bad. And the beatdown was so bad, I want to replay for you. But an ass whipping is an ass whipping. And take as much punishment as he was taking. And you saw the way that he looked after the fight. That was just hard to see. Let me tell you something. Where's your soul? See, is that Errol Spence Jr. doesn't need to be back in the ring. You saw him. You heard the slurring of his words. I mean, you want to buy as much time as you possibly can. A, for Errol Spence to fully recover, looks-wise. Just the scars. I mean, listen, if you think I'm exaggerating, go look at that episode of Martin Lawrence. Martin, the show was called. When Tommy the Hitman Hearns was on the show. And he said to Tommy, I heard that, you call yourself the Hitman. When I spoke at the end of the show, how Martin Lawrence had on that mask, looking like he was all beat up. And then go look at Errol Spence Jr.
And so, I agree with Stephen A. Smith. I just think that the turnaround is extremely fast, okay? Again, Errol Spence is going to need, they fought July 29th. He's taking August off, maybe September. But if they're going to fight in December and Errol Spence is going to prepare necessarily, he can't have a natural, normal 2-month training camp. He has to specifically have an extensive period of training camp to prepare for Terrence Crawford, different styles, different angles, being able to be prepared for if Terrence Crawford comes in orthodox, if Terrence Crawford comes in southpaw. He has to be prepared for all of those things. He has to physically get stronger as well. So, and he has to have these sparring sessions with these fighters, which means Errol Spence is not going to take enough time off. 2 months after taking a beating like that, in my opinion, is just not enough time to let his body heal. It's just not enough time. But nonetheless, Errol Spence is a competitor. He's a dog. uh, and he wants his get back. So we're gonna see how it plays out. But do you think it's disrespectful of Stephen A. Smith to say what he said and how he said it and reference Martin Lawrence character? Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. That's all I got for y'all. I'm going. Peace.